All right, let's continue to bring you more reflection on the latest unemployment figures. We're joined now by Director and Chief Economist at Econometrix, Dr. Azar Jammine. A very good evening to you, Dr. Jammine. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, these figures released essentially expose South Africa's shame. South Africa's unemployment now at 33.5%, the highest rate since the year 2022. Was such an outcome expected at all, or does it perhaps come as a surprise?
I don't think it comes as a surprise. One must recognize that until such time as the economy begins growing at a rate faster than the rate at which workers are coming into the job market from educational institutions, you are not going to see a fall in unemployment, rather a rise. If you look at what has happened now, comparing the second quarter of this year with the second quarter of last year, the population grew by 1.4%, but the labor force grew by 3.2%, and the economy has probably grown by less than 1%. So it's totally logical to expect the unemployment rate to have increased in such an environment.
How should one then begin to interpret the latest statistics? More so as we look at unemployment among young people, university graduates declining by 2.1 percentage points to 9.7% in the second quarter. It's lower than a decade ago.
Yes, you've got to recognize that the number of people coming on stream in the market is increasing far more rapidly than the total labor force, and that is because South Africa's population demographics are skewed towards younger people rather than older people. And at the same time, the structure of the economy is such that one sees that labor unions make it quite difficult for young people to get into the job market because they hold on to their jobs through minimum wage legislation and labor market laws that make it unattractive for business to want to offer jobs to young people. Then there's the other problem, and that is the educational system is just not producing people with sufficient quality education and education in the appropriate fields where jobs are actually required. And as a consequence, they come out of the educational system and are unable to find the requisite number of jobs in many instances. In particular, the outcomes in science and maths are very, very weak from our educational system. No more than 3% of those who start school end up with 60% or more for maths in matric. And, in an environment which is becoming technologically far more sophisticated by the day, that means that many people are left out of the out of the job market.
What about the unemployment rate amongst black Africans? I mean, that is sitting at 37.6%. It remains higher than the national average and other population groups. Where do we look for solutions in that manner? Is it a matter of policy? Do we look to the government of national unity? What are the solutions there?
Well, that ties in exactly and precisely to what I was talking about, the educational system. When you look at the educational outcomes of black Africans, they are far, far weaker than with other race groups. And the result is that such a much higher proportion of black Africans is left without an ability to find employment. In particular, tertiary education, which carries a much lower unemployment rate, the order of 10% compared with 37 or 40% for those with matric, or even greater for those without matric. In the case of black Africans, a far, far smaller proportion of the population receives tertiary qualifications. And when they do receive tertiary qualifications, they're usually in areas of activity that are not in great demand. areas such as languages, humanities, and politics, that kind of thing, rather than in maths and science and technology.
Very well. Unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for weighing in on the conversation. The quality of the audio, not so great. We do apologize for that, but that was more reflection on the latest unemployment figures. Director and Chief Economics at Econometrix, Dr. Azar Jammine.